এটা ফার্স্ট লেট, এটা ফার্স্ট। Hello students, let's start discussion on international institutions in the series that we are going to start today. So among the international institution that we will discuss over the period, the most important one is United Nations. Fine. So what we want to start is, so the first we will start with UNO, United Nations Organization. As you all know, in the post First World War period, so the League of Nations was created with the objective of ensuring peace and security, but the failure of the League led to the Second World War. That means the League of Nations failed in its objective of maintaining peace and security, for which the Second World War took place. And the Second World War is very important in the history of world, because for the first time, so the nuclear bomb was used in it. The power of atom was used in destroying humanity. Fine. So in the previous war, all are conventional weapons. What was used are conventional weapon. But for the first time in the Second World War, so nuclear weapon was used. As you all know, all over Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, American dropped nuclear or atomic bomb that ended the First World War. So the threat perception before the global community increased manifold. Why? Because the destruction of the atomic bomb, which was called as WMD, weapons of mass destruction, due to its destructive capability, led humanity to think of peace again and to create a global organization which will try its best to maintain peace and security and to save humankind from another world war. Because if there is one more war, which will be a world war, so devastation will be further, because already people have known the use of atomic bomb, and towards the end of Second World War, atom bomb was used. But in any other war of global ramification, so more use of this atomic bomb was not ruled out. That's why the longing for peace led to the thought of creating one more international organization which will have wider power, wider more principles and more objectives to save the mankind from the destruction of another world war, as well as to think of development. So development should be the motto rather than destruction. Keeping that in view, so the international community, they started discussion to create a new organization at Dumbarton Oaks. So from where it started? It was started, the initiative to start a new organization as a successor of the League of Nations was started at in USA at a place called Dumbarton Oaks. It is a place in USA. The first such delegation level meet to chalk out the plan for creating another international institution as a successor of the League of Nations was started with the Dumbarton Oak Conference, and the process march further, and the UN Charter to create this organization was signed at the San Francisco Conference in USA. So this SF stands for San Francisco. It is another place in USA. The San Francisco Conference was held in USA, where so around 51 countries gathered and signed the UN Charter to create another global institution to be the successor of the League of Nations with wider power and wider objective to ensure peace and security. And apart from peace and security, it also aims to develop a development of the world, so ensuring human rights, democracy, development, environment, all other aspects were added to the dimensions of peace, which was only confined to peace as per the League of Nations. The sphere was expanded to include lot more. Fine. So, move further. So, from a mere 51 member during the formation, okay, at present the membership has increased to 193. So, the present strength of this organization, which is the largest in the world among all the international organizations, is 193 countries, and the latest member in this series is South Sudan. Is the 193rd member, because division of Sudan led to the creation of South Sudan, and South Sudan joined the United Nations as its 193rd member. So, from mere 51, there is a nearly fourfold growth in the membership of this organization in the last 70 plus years, which is a manifestation of the popularity as well as the acceptability of this institution before the global community, because nation realized that we should try for peace and give peace a chance to save humankind from the devastating effect of another world war, and launching development, protecting human rights, environment, everything. So, from 51 the membership increased to 193 at present, and some more members are also there who are waiting to get membership. Fine. So many, around 20 countries are waiting for to be member of the United Nations. So its headquarters are at New York in USA. Okay, and it uses 6 official languages in its business transaction. Okay, so that includes Arabic, Chinese, English, Spanish, French, and Russian. So this comes as a question at times in the preliminary: which of the following language is not an official language of United Nations? So there may be combinations, reshuffle and reshuffle. Remember this? Fine. It is Arabic, Chinese, English, Spanish, French, and Russian. The 6 official languages in which the transaction is conducted at the United Nations. Fine. So it has a symbol, the globe, and surrounded by 2 olive branches. So olive branches, olive tree is the manifestation of or symbol of peace. So to ensure peace in the world, so they have the symbol of United Nations with the globe, the entire universe. So surrounded by the branches of the olive leaves to ensure peace for humanity. Fine. So this is the first on United Nations. Fine. Moving further, what is the objective? When any organization is created, it comes with some objectives. Definitely objective must be there, otherwise why it will be created? So the United Nations, the predecessor, the League of Nations, had also some objectives, but it failed to achieve its objective. That led to the Second World War, and ultimately after the Second World War, the United Nations was created. So United Nations for itself, because they know the limitation suffered by the League of Nations and how these objectives they are unable to achieve. So with more experience, the global community thought of creating the United Nations with the following objective. What are the objectives? Maintain international peace and security. The most important, is the biggest challenge before the global community in the post Second World War period, because humankind witnessed the devastating impact of war on the country, their political system, economy, and on the individual. The horrific incident throughout the course of the Second World War. It destroyed peace. It threatened security. As both peace and security were affected severely by the Second World War, and it was well visualized by the global community, realized by the global community. So they decided, let put the very first objective of the new organization as to ensure international peace and security, because peace can ensure development, or peace can lead to development, and security will bring that mental condition where people will be out of fear and will think of development. Fine. So the very first objective is to maintain international peace and security. Fine. Moving further, to develop friendly relations among nations. The second important objective. If the nations around the world will be able to maintain a friendly relation, the chances of war will be overruled or avoided. Fine. So what is the major development in the post Second World War period? So the most important development in the post Second World War period, there are some developments like you can take. So in the post World War II, what is the development? So end of colonialism, emergence of independent country, in Asia, Africa and Latin America. Hundreds of countries became independent because colonialism was given a decent burial. The days of colonialism was over and hundreds of countries became free from their colonial rule and they gained independence. When country became independent, so obviously they will try to develop relationship with each other, because prior to that, because they were under the colonial rule, the colonial master maintained their relationship to their suitability. That means where the colonial master or the colonial country, they find it or feel it good, they maintain the relationship. But once a country became independent, so it will start its own relation with the nations around the world. Fine. So it is quite natural that once so many countries emerge in the international scenario, so they will try to maintain relationship. So even have the objective to facilitate development of friendly relation among nations. Hope this is very clear for you, because friendly relationship will maintain peace and ensuring peace will lead to development. Fine. Then The third important objective, to cooperate in solving international economic, social, cultural and humanitarian problems. As you all know, when so many nations will be there emerging in the global scenario, the chances of conflict are quite natural. When few human beings cannot live in peace, they start quarreling with each other. So there is chances of conflict, but definitely there among the countries around the world. Fine. So what is the conflict? So, and that will lead to problems. Economic problem in trade and commerce, social problem, ethnic issues, so cultural issues and humanitarian problems. All these problems will surface in the global scenario, and even have the objective to develop cooperation in solving this problem than aggravating them, because aggravating the problem may lead to another world war. Fine, will break peace. That's why, so they decided to cooperate in solving international economic, social and cultural and humanitarian problems. You see what they aims to achieve. So to cooperate in solving international economic, social, cultural and humanitarian problems. Fine. Then the next objective, to be a center for harmonizing actions, okay, of nations in attaining these common ends and more specific goals. Common ends, these, and any more specific goals that may emerge in course of time. Okay, so it will be a center, the United Nations will act as a center for harmonizing the actions of the nations in attaining these common ends and more specific goals. Why? Hope it is clear to you. Moving forward, the next objective is promoting democracy, development and human rights. Okay, you know, countries were under colonial rule. Prior to that, they were under the monarchy. Before the colonial master came and ruled over them or took over the administration, most of the country were ruled by respective monarchs or king, emperor. But once the colonial masters end their colonial rule, so democracy became the very popular form of government for each and every country, because in democracy, as it is called, so it is a government of the people, for the people and by the people. And the role model was set by USA. Fine. Oldest democracy in the world is USA. USA has given to the world a model of democracy. Because, so democracy is a system of government where the people have a direct role in governance. Fine. So people participate in governance. It is not an island, nor a dictator, nor a king, nor an emperor who will be ruling over the country. Rather, it is the people. They will decide who will be their ruler, and it will be that ruler will rule as per the mandate given to it. And in each and every development or decision, people have a say, because people's voice will be recognized, taken into consideration before any decision is arrived at. You can say democracy is direct or indirect. In a direct democracy, people are consulted for each and every decision, like that of Switzerland. But you can take Indian example. So what is India? Like USA being the oldest democracy, so it is the oldest, because here the president say democracy is the government of the people, for the people, by the people. That was the catchword. So similarly, India is at present, what is stand in democracy? It is the largest democracy. USA the oldest, India the largest. So, in the post Second World War period, when colonial rule ended, the nations are not interested to go back to monarchy or any authoritarian rule. So, democracy became a catchword or a model for all, and that model was set by USA, because USA was able to launch democracy or democratic form of government, and it was able to give the rights to the people in decision making. So, the nations around the world, so they have a craze to make their new government or new country a democratic country, where the ruler will rule as per the permission of the people. Fine. Then comes development. So, promoting development. So, prior to Second World War, okay, development process was not that faster. But technology, although it has started from the industrial revolution, but it was not that faster technology. So, development gained momentum in the post Second World War period. That is why, so apart from democracy, development was also to be ensured or promoted by United Nations, because development can bring prosperity to the countries. Fine. That is why, so apart from democracy, so this objective of development was also very much highlighted by the United Nations. Then comes human right. It was definitely, human rights come across the French Revolution, but in the subsequent period, this gained more momentum, the human rights issue or the demand for human rights. We are born as human being, and as we are born as human being, if we have some inalienable rights which are to be ensured to each and every human born on earth. And this was highlighted and set as an objective of United Nations, and United Nations created separate agency called the United Nations Human Rights Council. We will discuss that subsequently, to promote human rights for the people around the world, because neither the country's government nor any non-state actor shall ever be given the scope to violate human rights. When United Nations is promoting human rights, so very rarely the government of the country or any other non-state actor or any outside forces shall be given the chance to curtail the human rights. So, that is what here it is: democracy, development, human rights, promoted by United Nations, as being mentioned over here. The next objective was promoting democracy, development, human rights. Clear? Moving next. Protecting environment. You see, during 1945, when UN was created, environment around the world was quite good. Pollution level was quite under control, because industrialization was less, automobile was few, okay, energy consumption almost much lesser. Environment was quite better, but the visionary who drafted or started the United Nations, they know very well that in future environment will be the biggest challenge before the humanity. So, the even target or even objective, they also put environment, how to protect the environment. So, only humankind who is responsible for any destruction of the environment. None else, no animal, no bird, no aquatic animal, they destroy the environment even today, the 21st century. Neither tiger, nor lion, nor the bird, nor the whales, they are responsible for destruction of the environment. It is only the noble creature, the man being, who is responsible for any damage to environment. We are the intelligent most, but our steps are most foolish, and the earth or the environment which sustain us, we are destroying it. Fine. We know very well that environment, if destroyed, will lead to the destruction of human race. But in our competition for economic prosperity, we are destroying the environment. But coming to United Nations, in 1945, when environmental issues were not at all there, still the visionary who set the objective of United Nations has environment in their mind. They have a bigger vision. They are quite visionary. That's why they have kept environment or protecting environment as one of the objective of United Nations. And for that you can say the UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, was launched, and UNFCCC was created, and the climate summits are being held at regular interval. Even recently the Glasgow summit was completed in 2022. Fine, come back. So next is preventing nuclear proliferation, the second most important, because in the post Second World War period, witnessed the first use of nuclear weapon. In the post Second World War period, it was very much presumed that there will be a race for acquiring nuclear weapons by countries to expand their power or to show their power or superiority. More and more countries will try to acquire nuclear weapon, so their importance in international domain will increase. So it is very well apprehended that in future the race for the nuclear arms will increase, and more countries will try to acquire these weapons of mass destruction called the nuclear weapon. Because the humanity know the use of nuclear weapon in the Second World War. Second World War came to an end with the use of nuclear weapon. America took all the credit for the Second World War because it is the only country having nuclear weapons, as it used on the Axis power. Okay, America led the Allied power, and the Axis power, Germany, Japan, etc. were in the Axis power. It used the bomb on Japan. So it is very well realized that more and more countries will try to acquire nuclear weapon in the post Second World War period. So because acquiring nuclear weapon will give them an advantage over others. So the race will start to acquire nuclear weapon, and it will create more instability in the global scenario. Realizing that very well, so the United Nations has set the objective to prevent nuclear proliferation. You can make it more clear: nuclear weapon and weapon technology. Proliferation implies spread. Fine, because you know nuclear technology is a dual use technology. It is used for the peaceful purpose in healthcare, in industry, in agriculture, lot many. That is promoted because that E is equal to mc square, the formula given is for peace, not for war, for development, not for destruction. But human mind used that for destruction, and the massive destruction caused by the atomic bomb was witnessed in the Second World War. And you see, United Nations set the target to prevent nuclear proliferation by convincing countries and drafting international conventions. Like you see, subsequently we are able to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT) and Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty regarding the nuclear weapon development. But this was started as an objective of United Nations during the formation in 1945. So it is preventing spread of nuclear weapon and nuclear weapon technology. Then promoting self-determination. This try to understand this, what this implies. In the post Second World War period, colonialism ended. Fine. And those countries who were under the colonial master, they are independent because the masters left the country. Although in some countries they stay for some year. So the movement for self-determination gain momentum. Realizing that some country became independent by their struggle in the post-Second World War period, so more and more country will be launching the movement for self-determination and independence, which was realized by United Nations, and it was set an objective of the United Nations that any country trying for self-determination and independence will be provided support by the United Nations, because no country should be under the colonial rule. Every country should be independent and must have their own administration, and that should be based on democracy. Fine. So that's what one of the objectives of the United Nations was to promote self-determination and independence of the countries at the end of the colonial rule. Fine. And next is strengthening international law. United Nations will formulate international law, okay, directly itself. Also some other conferences, conventions will be created, almost starting from sea to air to almost all the domain movement. So as the law will be created at the international level, so country being sovereign, the law should be strengthened, which implies the country should obey the law, because in obeying the law it will be better for everyone. That is why one of the objectives of United Nations is to strengthen international law, by which peace, progress, prosperity can be facilitated. So it is strengthening of international law created by the United Nations and other such international organizations which will come into being in subsequent period. So she again refers to maintain international law and international peace and security, to develop friendly relations among nations, to cooperate in solving international economic, social, cultural, humanitarian problems, to be a center for harmonizing the action of nations in attaining these common ends and more specific goals, promoting democracy, development and human rights, protecting environment, preventing nuclear proliferation, promoting self-determination and independence, and strengthening international law. So this is what the objective of United Nations during the formation. Fine. So moving further, when the organization is created, it must have some principles. Without principles, so similarly, the United Nations is based on some principles that will be followed by this organization for its durability. So the first one is, it is based on sovereign equality of all its members. Try to understand what it implies. What is sovereign equality? What it implies? Country must be sovereign, that means independent, and they must be equal. Because all being independent, irrespective of their size or geographical size, economic strength, military capability, technological advancement, all are to be treated equally, because they are the common member, or they are a member to a common forum called UNO. So if they are member to a common forum, there should not be any discrimination based on their size, their strength, their capability, or anything, whatever extra they have. At a common forum, they all should be treated equally. And who will be treated equally? All sovereign countries. To be a member, the country must be sovereign. But you can say here, sir, India was a member before becoming independent. So few countries like India were given membership in 1945 as founding member, although they were not independent by that time. The glaring example is India. India was not independent when UN was created, but India was a founding member. It was just independence coming, it is almost decided that India is going to be independent. So some countries like India were given membership before becoming sovereign, because it is very well known that in just a year or two they are going to be independent. So the first principle is sovereign equality of all members of the United Nations. All members are to fulfill in good faith their charter obligations. So which charter? This UN charter. Okay, as I told, the UN charter means the bylaw or its constitution of the United Nations. So what is the principle? All members are to fulfill in good faith their charter obligations. What obligations have been said by the United Nations Charter must be fulfilled by each and every country in good faith, neither under compulsion nor under allurement, but out of their own conviction that yes, this is good for us, let's follow it in good faith. That is what? Then they are to settle their international dispute. Third one. What? They are to settle their international disputes by peaceful means and without endangering peace, security and justice prevailing around the world. Disputes are universal. They are to be there. As I told you, when two human beings cannot coexist, how hundreds of countries can coexist without dispute? There will be so many disputes, but the principle of UN said that all the countries must settle their international disputes, if any, by peaceful means without endangering world peace, security and justice. Fine. Then the next principle of the organization was that to refrain in their international relation from the threat or use of force against other state. Two things here. Neither they should threat nor they should use what? Force. Because things have to be settled peacefully. So neither the threat or use of force will be recourse by the country in their relation with other countries. If one is a militarily powerful country, it will threat or may use that, but that is to be discouraged. The principle of United Nations say that they are refrain in their international relation from the threat or use of force. Fine. So moving further, the next principle said by United Nations that to give United Nations every assistance to any action it takes. Try to understand what I am dividing this. Give every assistance to United Nations on any action it take in accordance with the Charter, and shall not assist states against which the United Nations is taking preventive or enforcement action. If the United Nations is taking action against any state, state here means country, so all other members must provide their support to United Nations, and none should try to support that country against whom United Nations is taking action for violating international peace and security. Only UN can take action in case the country dare to violate international peace and security, become a threat to global community. Fine. In that case, United Nations will take action. It is authorized to take action. And if the United Nations is taking any action, so all other members must support United Nations in its decision, and no one shall try to back that country against whom this action is being taken, because it is well known that that country is a violator of international principles.
it violated or it threatened global peace and security, that led United Nations to start action against it.
If this is the condition, then the country should not be supported by any other United Nations member. Clear? Moving further. Well, the next one, the UN shall ensure that states which are not member act in accordance with these principles so far as necessary for the maintenance of international peace and security. So, although the principles and the objectives are binding on the member states because they have the signatory, but non-members are there who will not be willing to abide by this. So, here the United Nations shall ensure that the states which are not member are also acting in accordance with the United Nations system in the larger interest of world peace and security. Fine. Then nothing in the charter is to authorize the United Nations to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any nation. See the words how it is being used. Nothing in the charter is to authorize the United Nations to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state. That means UN will not mingle in the state's affair, in any state's affair, if it is a domestic issue, till that issue has no ramification globally or between outside the jurisdiction of the country. United Nations should not interfere in that because it will be led as an internal matter to be sorted out by the country which is facing this as its own domestic or internal issue. Unless it is not an international issue, United Nations should not intervene. Fine. So, with the principles, a quick revision again. So, the UN is based on the sovereign equality of all members. All members are to fulfill in good faith their charter obligations. They are to settle their disputes by peaceful means without endangering peace, security and justice. They are to refrain in their international relation from the threat or use of force against other states. They are to give United Nations every assistance to any action it takes in accordance with the charter and shall not assist states against which United Nations is taking preventive or enforcement action. The United Nations shall ensure that the states which are not member act in accordance with these principles insofar as it is necessary for the maintenance of international peace and security, and nothing in the charter is to authorize the United Nations to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of the state. State here means country. Clear? So, about the objectives and the principles. So, we discuss about the formation, the objectives and the principle. So, after this, let us move to the next information on United Nations. So, moving next, any institution for normal functioning must have some organs. Like we human being function through different organs, starting from brain to the feet, heart, lungs, kidney. So many organs are there to make us functional. Similarly, any major institution to be functional, to be active, must have some major organs and some minor organs for its functioning. So, we are right now going to know about the major organs of United Nations, called the 6 principal organs. So, to start with, it is the General Assembly, where it comprises of all the members of United Nations. That means 193 countries who are member of United Nations are by default member of the General Assembly, because it functions as the principle of sovereign equality. Sovereign equality. is manifested only at the General Assembly, because each sovereign country, to be a member, country must be sovereign and all are equal at this particular forum, because it represents almost all the members. 100% member are by default become the member of the General Assembly. So comprising all member meant for general deliberation. So this is the deliberative body of the United Nations. Okay, when they meet, what action they take, we'll discuss in detail subsequently. But to give a quick view of these major organs, so let's see, first one is General Assembly, it is the deliberative body. The second one is the Security Council, or which is in short called UNSC, like the UNGA. The first one is called UNGA, the second one is called UNSC, the action wing of the United Nations. Okay, so in this all are not members, it is very limited member, only 15, that again divided, permanent 5 and non-permanent 10, elected for 2 years. They are permanent, 5 permanent members with veto power and 10 non-permanent members elected by the General Assembly on a 2-year term. Fine. So we'll discuss the detail in subsequent period, but just remember these 5 includes the major powers of the formative year, like USA, the then USSR, United Kingdom, France and China, which was added subsequently. Initially 4, China was given membership subsequently, so total 5 permanent members at present. And the 10 non-permanent members are elected region-wise for a 2-year term by the General Assembly. So it is the action wing, like the cabinet of a country. This is the action wing, and the members to decide on matters of peace and security, because it is the permanent one, it is present throughout the year. Fine. Then the third one among the major organ is the Economic and Social Council, which is in short form called ECOSOC, ECOSOC. Fine. It is a 54 member body, means 54 out of 193 are elected to this for a 3-year term. Each member enjoy a 3-year tenure, and so what it meant, international cooperation on economic and social issue. Most of the UN humanitarian action are coordinated by the Economic Social Council, regarding children, regarding culture, regarding science and technology, regarding labor, regarding whatever humanitarian role played by the United Nations, it is coordinated by the Economic and Social Council. Fine. It is the humanitarian phase of the United Nations, to which the members are elected for a 3-year tenure. Okay. So 1/3 member retiring every year. In detail we will discuss subsequently, while discussing in detail. Then the fourth one is the Trusteeship Council. Okay. So it is very interesting, because what is this Trusteeship Council? Trust territory. Trusteeship Council was created to manage the trust territory. What are the trust territories? Some country, on attaining independence from colonial rule, they express their inability to govern themselves, because they don't have any experience of administration. They were, prior to becoming colonies, ruled by the respective king or emperor or dictator, and once the colonial masters came, they ruled like their own will. But the people themselves, on attaining independence at the end of colonialism in the post-Second World period, have no idea, experience or expertise in governance. That's why they express inability to govern themselves. In that condition, it is a very peculiar situation. How these country will be governed, who will govern them. Fine. That's why the Trusteeship Council is created to manage those trust territories. What? Managing trust territory under the United Nations. Those countries who after becoming independent from colonial master expressed their inability for self-governance, inability that we cannot govern ourselves, were put under the Trusteeship Council. The council will administer them and they will expose them to administration or teach them the ABC of administration to equip them for future governance. Fine. So that is under the Trusteeship Council, but at present if you say the last trust territory, Palau, this comes as a question. It has come many times as a question. It is a Pacific Ocean island country. Fine. So it is an island country in the Pacific Ocean area. So it became independence by 1994 and expressed its ability that yes, I can govern myself right now. So Trusteeship Council has no trust territory under it at present. So this is says the defunct organ of the United Nations because it has no function to perform at present. Okay. Then comes the International Court of Justice. You know, when there is a court of law in the country to administer justice and to protect citizen from any violation, okay, so at the international level there must be some judicial organ to try the disputes and give judgment to the member countries in case of any dispute with the other countries. That's why the ICJ was created, or International Court of Justice, with its headquarters at away from the UN headquarters. It is at the Hague in Netherlands. Because most of these all even organs are in Newark, headquartered in Newark, but this major organ is located at away from the headquarters at Hague in Netherlands, with 15 judges elected for a 9-year term to administer justice in case of any conflict among the nations. Fine. So detail of this, how the judges are elected, what is the tenure, what is the function they do, we'll discuss in detail in subsequent period. But at least this much you should know that 15 judges elected for 9-year term and to settle the dispute among members on international law. Then the last major organ is the Secretariat. You know, every country for administration must have a Secretariat. Like in the state we have the Secretariat in our state, at the center we have a Secretariat, Central Secretariat. Similarly, at the United Nations, it must have a Secretariat to provide assistance to all other organs for functioning. It provides secretarial assistance. So United Nations Secretariat is the coordinating agency of the organization which provide secretarial assistance to almost all the major organs of the United Nations, and headed by the Secretary General, who is elected for a 5-year term by the General Assembly and Security Council. So he represents the country, that United Nations, before the global community. He is the best representative of the United Nations. So who? It is headed by the Secretary General of United Nations. Okay, so he leads the Secretariat and it provides administrative support to the United Nations. Fine. Students, today we discuss about the creation, the objective, the principles and the major organs in nutshell about the United Nations. In subsequent classes, we will discuss about the detail of this organization and its challenges and what role it has played in international domain since its creation. So hope that this is interesting and this is useful for you, and keep on watching to enrich yourself. Thank you.